Serious Redditors who believe they have thrown their lives away. Where did it all go wrong for you? Started working at a restaurant at 14, surrounded by drugs and alcohol. Thought it was completely normal behavior for adults and chefs I looked up to until you was 37 and realized I have a huge alcohol problem and lost everything I own. I'm 17 months sober now. So many dirtbags in that industry. So I'm a third-year medical student and going to medical school is my biggest regret. I should have chosen the career path I initially wanted, but I let people tell me where to go. Problem is I'm gonna be in too much debt to do anything else. My upstairs neighbor has an MD from Johns Hopkins. Never practiced a day in his life. Went to McKinsey after med school. Now is in leadership at a healthcare-related nonprofit. Does pretty effing well. Based on how much he paid for the apartment. I've known too many miserable doctors who hate their lives but are trapped. You have the chance to avoid the trap. Take it. Car crash. Age 14. Was in a coma for 7 or 8 days. Made a lot of brain damage decisions after. I got lazy with education from a very young age. And in the end my brain just lacked the ability to apply to anything that required real effort. Then I stopped caring. Just got a decent enough job and that was it. This is life now. It's like I'm looking in a mirror. I got really depressed when I was in my early 20s, so I've beeped everything up and isolated myself for a few years. Despite a good degree, that kind of killed it for me. Same here. Good degree. Good experience and built a good network of connections in undergrad. Got extremely depressed in my first job out of school. Now I've isolated myself to the point where I've lost all the momentum I had. Like with many people. I think it went wrong around 18 to 25. Was more or less pushed by various environmental factors into a direction. Without really thinking about who I was or who I wanted to be. I just followed societal/parental expectations and sure enough ended up in a career I care little about. And feel like a zombie on a daily basis. Like dying. What sucks is that before 18, I never had a bad time. I cared for school. I always tried to do my best. But after 18 everything went too quick. I had to pick a career. Etc. Now at 30. I feel nothing for my life and career. But I'm also in the paradox that I don't want to start all over again to go for a career that really interests me. Because going through college/university all over again just feels too much of a battle, going from working professional with money to unemployed year 1 student. I just feel that just a small window of a couple years, 18 to 25, decided my entire life for me and ruined it forever. My only advice for people is to gain some maturity. Ask themselves what they truly want to be. And only then embark on studies. You need intention in life. Parental expectations or being a good boy trying to do his best isn't enough. Undefined. I've had a great life. There is one thing in my life though that has put a damper on it, and that was drinking alcohol. I wish I had never let it pass my lips. I never got a DUI I should have. Never in trouble with the law. But I wasted 30 years being inebriated most evenings. I wasn't crisp. I wasn't completely. There was a dimmer on my life that turned my general awareness down by at least 20 to 30%. It's my greatest regret. Undefined. I focused too much on the long term. I needed to graduate college, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I needed to get career stability, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I needed to get financial stability, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I woke up at 40 in the middle of a pandemic all alone and realized I have nothing that is worthwhile. I met a girl at work just as my life was starting to take off. I was 23. We started dating and I fell in love instantly. After dating for 3 months she was getting evicted, so I offered her to move in with me. 3 months later we were married. This then starts a journey of me trying to do all I could to make her happy while she could never hold down a job. In the last 2 years she didn't work at all. We lost our cars. I had to demote. She had to get an abortion. I fell behind on my credit cards and she cheated on me. For her all of our problems were because of me and she was the victim. She then left me the day after our 4-year anniversary and was with a new guy a month later. I am now in the process of filing for bankruptcy. Have no house. No friends because I put all my focus into her. No car. A speepty job. And living in my sister's spare bedroom. I'm 28 and I have nothing to speak of. Just painful memories of bad choices and depression. My mother often talks about her personal regret for not going to college. She also says if she could, she would go back. Go to college and get a career that involves weather meteorologist is what I think she was going for. It makes me sad knowing she doesn't have the motive to do it now. Our family relationship hasn't always been the best. But I always want the best for her. She works so hard for my brother and I. And I hope one day I can show her the world. 3 Undefined. My mom will graduate this year at 64 years of age. She can still do it. College. I was always one of the best students in high school. I got to college and I didn't know what study meant. I just thought you skim though the book. It had always worked for me before. I had to get kicked out. Then do a real job. Eventually I went back and got my degree. But I left a lot on the table. I had prepared myself. I distinctly remember learning how to ingest, process and retain information during my 5 years in higher education. In the beginning I had no study plan. I floundered. Experimented, pulled out a lot of hair and eventually adapted. After struggling through several quarters I developed a specific process that worked well for me to learn and recall pertinent information. My process was: 1. Read the assigned text. Annotate to engage with ideas and determine key information what will actually be in the test/quiz via underlining. 2. Go back through the text/material and rewrite all of the information that I had previously underlined and annotated. I would work hard to rephrase the ideas/concepts in my own words and or explain why equations were important or what their function was. This is the most important element of my process. It forced me to internalize the concepts/ideas/equations and it made them stick with me long term. 3. Review my notes. I realized that if I dedicated large blocks of time to this over multiple days, I would internalize the information more thoroughly. A good night's sleep after 6 hours of rewriting concepts I had already read, underlined and annotated had incredible results. Then reviewing those notes later would seal the deal. If I tried to do it all in a day or 2 I wouldn't have nearly as efficient recall or internalization. There are no shortcuts for me at least. But there are strategies that can help anyone learn complicated material in more efficient and substantive ways. I also attended class, took notes and participated. That's sort of the foundation that studying should be built on. All of that coupled with the belief that you can and will learn the material will carry anyone to graduation. Hell, I started having a lot of fun when I got good at playing the university game. I had my own landscape company. I employed 5 others, but I had an addiction problem with cocaine. At the time I didn't know I had severe mental health problems. I have BPD, DPD and bipolar disorder 1 with psychosis. I woke up one day and couldn't do it anymore. I left the company to the lads I worked with. Since then I haven't worked in years. I've lost count how many times I've been hospitalized. I tried to end my life but ended up in a coma. I'm doing better now despite going through a divorce. I'm on antipsychotic meds and I'm doing good now but could never go back to work. Internet. I moved after a kind of trauma in my life and it was my only connection to my former friends and therefore the only normal thing in my life. I began to see that, I think, as a connection to the real world and spent all my time on the computer. All my time. I never joined any clubs. Never really strived to make friends outside of the ones I talked to online. Hobbies were limited to the computer and what I could accomplish while distracted. Don't get me wrong, I think the internet is an amazing tool and can be used as such. I do also think it's dangerous and addictive. To this day I have trouble focusing. Trouble realizing how much time I've spent on the computer. And I get caught in loops where I use the computer to relax and get away but get depressed and pessimistic because the news and comment sections are usually quite toxic. If I could go back I would have done things differently. I think my life would be richer. Honestly. The internet can be a real silent killer. It seems so harmless next to some of the big names in addiction. Like it still sounds today like you are being dramatic when you say that you are addicted to social media. I still struggle to limit my time online. I dread to think how much time I've wasted just scrolling and I know it doesn't make me happy or give me real contentedness but it's just so easy and it fills up time and distracts so well. I'm always happier when I give up Reddit and Facebook and such. But I always end up coming back. I stopped studying after high school. I lost my thinking ability. I can't focus. When I started drinking. The drinking wasn't really that much of a problem. But it was enough for me to be too hungover to keep up my monthly appointments to get my ADHD meds. I fell behind on meds. Became embarrassed to reschedule appointments. Missed the deadline to renew my health insurance. Then I couldn't handle school anymore. Publicly bombed a few presentations. And stopped going. I only had one semester left but it was a small school and all of the professors know that I just completely gave up. Now I'm too scared to go back and have none of the degree and all of the debt. I married at 18 because it was expected of me. Wasted 36 years with an extremely abusive spouse. Primarily out of fear. I'm free now. He died 8 years ago. I'm trying to make up for lost time. But that's a lot of wasted time to make up for. My parents were addicts. They got divorced and my mom beeped up a lot so we often didn't have a lot of food. I got tired of being hungry and started shoplifting food at the grocery. I didn't get caught by the staff. But some other criminals noticed me. I ended up forming a sort of crime ring with them. At that time they stored cigars on an aisle in the store. We started stealing them as well as gum and candy and selling them at school. We also started smoking them. That was how I started down the wrong path. I progressively hung out with worse people and did worse things. I dropped out of high school and spiraled out of control. It's more than 20 years later now. Most of my friends are dead in prison or I don't know where. I have nothing. I did get clean a few years back and I haven't committed a crime in a long time. But I have no idea how to move forward in life. I have no skills. No recent work experience. And no references. I've beeped my life up pretty good. Probably when I decided to be a good Samaritan and let a girl I didn't really know move in with me because she claimed her mom was abusive. Her mom wasn't abusive, she just wanted her deadbeat daughter to get her get. I ended up spending a small fortune inadvertently enabling this girl's lazy behavior and developing a habit of trying to help everyone with a sob story I came across. My life went off the rails cause I kept trying to do the right thing but wasn't taking care of myself. If I had just kept to myself and focused on getting into an apprenticeship I turned down so I could focus on these charity cases, my life would be completely different. I never believed in myself. I have never believed in myself as much as everyone else believed in me. I almost threw mine away. My parents raised me to eventually one day kill myself. As a child, you depend on your parents to teach you about life and the world. You have no reason to doubt them as you literally have almost nothing to compare their truth to. Well, mine told me every day I was ugly, fat, and unlovable. I believed them too. Because I literally didn't know any better. So in school I didn't care or didn't try. Never did any clubs or anything. There was no point because as far as I knew, I was literally worthless. I was 7 when I wrote in my school journal that I was gonna kill myself. I'll never forget that. Fast forward to 14. I tried and failed. Fast forward to 22 and I tried and failed again. This time ended up in the hospital. Spent 2 weeks there and in a crisis center. It took me until 27 to get my life together. My mom had beeped up my credit when I was younger and stolen a lot of my money as well. I'm 31 now and finally have a savings. It's just beeping ridiculous how much my growth was stunted because of them. Where I am now I should have been when I was 20. So much of my life was stolen from me and I should be dead, but I am thankful every day I saw past them and their hatred to find worth in myself.